industry. When we say industry, what kind of images do we conjure up? Mills, factories. For some, especially here, we might picture cotton, for example. You see, industry is not just a word, it's not just a part of the economy, it's a part of the culture. It helped bring people together, it helped build places up, and especially here at Yorkshire, it actually changed the landscape of the area where it was situated. There is a lot to consider when we think of industry, and we need to preserve it, celebrate it, and there is no better place to do that than here at the Leeds Industrial Museum at Armley Mills. Leeds is a city that was built upon industry. It had plenty of different industries such as coal and iron, with coal being dug from the mid-1200s. It was inarguably, however, the woollen industry that helped develop the city, and equally, it was the city that helped develop the woolen industry. It is no exaggeration to say that without Leeds, the woolen industry would not have gotten as big as it did. Owing to its access to flax and to rivers, the woolen industry has been a big part of Leeds' story for a longer time than you may expect, going all the way back to when the monks of Kirkstall Abbey produced their own, and the first mill was also founded in the 1100s. There is no better place to explore that heritage than here at the Leeds Industrial Museum at Armley Mills. Armley Mills was at one point the largest woolen factory in existence. There's been evidence of a mill here since the mid-1500s, and it was chosen at this specific location thanks to its good connection to the River Aire. Originally, it fulled cloth and milled corn until they started producing cloth and had expanded by 1788. Benjamin Gott, one of the leading industrialists of the Industrial Revolution, purchased the ruins of Armley Mills in 1804 following a bad fire. Repairs were carried out by 1805, with fireproofing methods introduced such as stone and brick floors, a lot of which still survive today. There's a lot here for people who want to learn not just about the woolen industry of Leeds, but also its industrial heritage in general, and lots more beside it. So, let's dive in, shall we? For a day out, or simply if you want to spend some time in Leeds. There is plenty to see and do here, but I think we should start with a really pleasant surprise: the Palace Cinema. The 1920s was described as the decade of the Palace cinemas. This is a recreation of a 1920s cinema that actually uses seats from the Palace Picture House, which was a cinema in Leeds that closed in 1964. Leeds has a surprising connection to the story of cinema. The first moving images were shot on Leeds Bridge. The oldest surviving film was shot in 1888 and it was called Roundhay Garden Scene. It was filmed by inventor Louis Prinice and it was all shot here in Leeds. So there's always time to take a seat and put your feet up at one of the smallest 1920 cinemas in the world. Leeds pioneered the clothing industry with the introduction of ready-made clothing. Before 1850, clothes were made without the use of machinery. John Barron, a clothing dealer and jeweller, helped speed up and mechanise the production of clothing with the invention of the bandsaw and introduced ready-made clothing to Leeds. Messier David Osinski, better known as Sir Montague Maurice Burton, opened up his first shop in Sheffield in 1900. Before long, before 1906, not 6 years later, he then had a string of factories and shops in Leeds. By 1921, he was the owner of the largest clothing firm in the entire world, employing 16,000 workers. This here is a recreation of one of his shops, a far cry from the Burton shops that we know today. There's a lot to interact with here and a lot of exhibitions which are more than just something you read or listen to. When you visit, you'll have to pay a visit to the Mule, which is this machine that's right behind me. This is a Victorian yarn spinning machine, and you can see demonstrations of it, which is what we're here to see today.
Right, the Mule, as the name implies, is a hybrid machine. And it originated in 1826, did this actual machine, from a spinning jenny, which is an old wooden framed machine that came out in the 1770s, and also a water frame, which came out just before the Mule. The sections of it drawing out was the jenny, because that's how jenny worked. It drew out the fibre. The water frame was the drafting rollers, which are these rollers that you see here, which allowed so much fibre out. And that extra drawing locked in the crimps of the fibres, so it made it stronger. It's basically an electric motor. All I have to do is press a button, which starts the motor off. Then we've got the drive belt situated on the ceiling, because it used the shaft system like it did when it was steam powered. When they had the steam power, it was just the same shaft system. And all I do then is let off the brake and let out the handle for the drive shaft, which allows it to draw out.
There is far more to experience here than just what we have seen today, and lots to do when you get here. We don't want to spoil all the fun and show you everything before you visit now, do we? Armley Mills was purchased in 1969 by Leeds City Council. After serious renovation work, it was opened up as Leeds Industrial Museum in 1982. There were disastrous floods here in 1866, but none as bad as the Boxing Day floods of 2015. 8 feet of water and a foot of silt damaged the museum and caused it to be closed off for months. Thankfully, owing to the hard work of the museum staff and the council workers, it was reopened in March 2016. Not even fire or flooding could stop this place. This place is a celebration and preservation of the industrial legacy of Leeds. It's not just a place to look back at the past, however, but to look towards the future as well. And with the bright future ahead of it, we invite you to step through these doors and experience it with us.